Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. It's the end of the weekend, it's time for our weekly video. On today is just wrapping up the final product that was sent out to me by Supercheap for the purpose of review. You'll see the other products that we've got there, and the reviews for those are already up. So we've already done the review on the canvas seat covers, the Ridge Rider dcdc 20 amp charger, which we've just recently installed in the caravan. We'll do the rest of the install there on the car, and we'll get that up later on. The recovery tracks, which will now be a permanent addition to the vehicle. And last but certainly not least is our Tool Pro 18 volt contractor kit. Now you'll also see brushless impact wrench. Now that doesn't come as part of the contractor kit, was sent out to me separately, but I'm certainly happy that one came out to me, because that is a real godsend when you're under the car, actually, rather than just using a ratchet. When I was dropping off my bash plates off the car the other week just for the purpose of an oil change, it makes it so much easier than having to hold things in place, grab the ratchet. Just being able to take things out nice and quick and put them back in place nice and quick is absolutely awesome. The contractor kit basically comes in this little box, which is super handy as far as carting everything around. Adding additional items into it does become an issue, obviously, because it's made for the three tools themselves, which is the impact driver, the drill and the grinder, and obviously supporting the two batteries and the charger. If you just keep the charger out and put the charger separate, you can actually get all of these items in here with a few little extras. What I was hoping for was that the charger might actually accept a 12 volt input. Unfortunately it doesn't, it's only a 240. So for what's termed as a contractor kit, that makes sense. You're on site, you've got access to 240 or something like that. Or certainly if you don't, you might have a battery in the back and you might have an inverter or something like that. It does come with two batteries, the 4 amp and the 1.5. On the back of the 4 amp hour battery, you've also got a level indicator. Just requires you to push the button there, and obviously you've got the 3 lights, and that'll show you how much capacity you've got left in that battery. The 1.5 amp hour does not have that. Once you've attached it to your skin and then engage it, those lights are going to come on and tell you what sort of capacity you've got left in your battery before you need to charge. Just for drilling purposes, I'll tend to stick with the 1.5 amp, or if there's somewhere that I need to get into that's a little bit tight, or I'm going to be working over my head a little bit, I'll switch out and go to the 1.5 amp because it's a little bit lighter than the 4 amp and easier to hold up over your head or get into tighter spaces. They all feel very solid, and I have compared this to my Ozito one that I got from Bunnings. It's a sort of a cheaper one, and from a drill perspective, there is no real comparison. The quality and the make of these is certainly a step above. So you're going to need to buy a charger and a battery, if you're looking at buying any of these tools in skins. So if you're going to look at one of them, maybe jump over and have a look at the contractor kit, because you get a whole bunch of extra stuff. And you're going to save your money that way. I've been pushing these through their duties. As you'll see here, I've certainly been using the drill and the impact driver for putting together the rear bed for over in the Pajero. Now, I've not had an impact driver before, but I've got to tell you, the difference between using the impact driver and using your regular old drill, which up to this date I've always done, super handy. I must admit, I was a little concerned when it came to the impact wrench, how much sort of power that was going to have. It will take a wheel lug off one of your tyres. If they're tightened to proper torque, I found this was more than capable of taking off wheel lugs and setting them back on. If I was one of those caravan guys that use a drill to be lowering and raising my arms and support arms, this is what I would use over just one of the drills. I know a lot of the guys do use the drills, but the power in this with the brushless motor compared to just your standard drill, this would suit that job absolutely perfectly. Again, this was pressed into duty for pulling the bash plates off the Pajero and did an absolute superb job. Unfortunately, I did bust a bolt, but that wasn't the fault of this. I had been absolutely smashing those bash plates under the bottom of the Pajero, and those bolts had left grooves in the rock where I was trying to put it up. So those bolts had taken a lot of pressure and it just couldn't hold up. I combine this with my Supercheap branded sockets. They're the deep socket set that I got to use with my air compressor, and I find that they match up with these very well. One thing I found was this little C-clip that's made to hold on your sockets was sitting just a little bit proud, so I've actually had to grind that down a little bit just slightly, because it wasn't wanting to let go of the sockets and it was causing me an issue. If you have an issue with that, just where it's split there, just check that. It might be sitting up a little bit proud of the rest of it, and you might know, just grind that down a little bit of sandpaper, or a bit of a grinding, and that will sort that issue out for you. Another small issue that I've had in relation to the drill, that sometimes the chuck actually loosens. When I was stopping drilling, the chuck would actually loosen and I would go to drill my next hole and the drill bit was just falling out. Make sure you do crank down on this and tighten it right up, otherwise you might find that you're going to be dropping drill bits. What I've really liked on this, on the drill specifically, is the 2-speed. So it's got a standard speed, which is about the speed of my old Ozito one that I had. Just to give you an idea of the speeds on this, if we have this in slow and we just hold that chuck and we just, bring it in, full speed, and there you go. We put it into high speed. Watch how quickly this bugger goes. I was really impressed with that high speed. So certainly this might be a little bit handier, if I've got to drill steel or something and I need a little bit of high speed. I had a chance to put the grinder through its paces yet in a work or a job perspective. I have certainly put it through a few tests and checked it out, and found that it had more than enough power to do some simple duties. And frankly, I wish I had this when I was doing the install of the bull bar on the Pajero and cutting the bumper. I could have certainly put on the small battery on this one and got it in and up behind those guards when I needed to, when I was cutting some of that bumper away, so that would have been very handy. Now, one thing to note, one thing I didn't realise when I got it, is that this is a 115. It's 115 mil grinder, so it'll take 115 mil discs. If you're like me, I actually had some 100 mil around, sitting around from the old grinder, and I thought I was going to be able to just chuck those in and do a test on that, but wasn't to be the case. If you have a look at the centers of these two discs, you'll notice that the 115 mil is quite a bit larger than the 110, so you're not going to get 110 to fit on this. As far as the guard goes, there are a couple of notches here that'll just slot into, and then just tighten up that quick release clamp there. Drop that section back on, and then you'll just grab your chuck, tighten her up. This guard can be fit on this side or upside down, so you can use it left or right-handed, whichever is required for the job. Now, there are a couple of other 18 volt tools or skins that you can get. You're going to pick up the polisher. I've been trying to be a little bit cleaner with the Pajero and look after the paint, and I did notice that they've got a polisher as well, so real happy to be able to have some quality tools like this and have them in the shed that I can rely on, and certainly having the variety of the different tools makes the jobs so much easier. These will be going with me camping, caravanning, and all around the place, and we'll be getting lots of use out of these. Big thanks to the team there at Supercheap for sending these out to me for the purpose of the review and all the other gear that they've sent out. It's been awesome. Obviously, it's great to get your hands on some gear and be able to run it through its paces and throw up a few reviews, and hopefully everybody that watches the channel might appreciate that. And thank you to all the subscribers that have come on board recently. Lots more work to be done on the caravan. I'm going to be doing a secondary filter on the Pajero soon before I go away. I'm going to do a new stereo install there at some point. We've got to install the GME into the car as a permanent install, so that'll be coming up soon. And we'll be doing some external lights on the caravan and some other sort of basic wiring in place. So stick around, chuck us a subscribe if this is the sort of stuff you're interested in. If it's not, chuck us a subscribe anyway. Live on the edge. Thanks very much, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.